Vancouver, Canada, we have Jolty Horvat.
What's up, guys? We are less than 100 days away from NFL football. And like every year, Vikings, this is our year.
So I'm guessing that you're going to keep the beard until they win a Super Bowl, yeah, Jolty?
It's going to be down to here.
And then lastly, from Quezon City, Philippines, we have Ben Bernaldez.
Hi, guys. Good to be back on the show.
Glad to have you. And so just as I mentioned, thanks for joining us tonight. And again, before we go on, I just want to remind our viewers that we're by no means experts, but rather a good group of friends expressing our humble opinions and sharing the same passion for sports. Now, let's get started with some sports news. First up, Ben has some updates on GILAS Pilipinas and their performance in the ongoing 2021 FIBA Asia Cup qualifiers. Ben?
That's right, Ken. And Philippines are rejoicing with the great performance by the young GILAS Pilipinas. They needed the game's first 20 minutes to shake off the high from the thrilling win over arch-rival South Korea last Wednesday. And the Philippines continued its unbeaten run and crushed Indonesia 76-51 in the group stage of the 2021 FIBA Asia Cup. GILAS Pilipinas already qualified to the main tournament and kept its unblemished record 5-0 to reign atop Group A. Indonesia, meanwhile, remained at the third with a 1-4 card, but still qualified for the competition by virtue of its being the host of the Asia Cup. Head coach Todd Baldwin was not satisfied with how his players played in the first half, which he described as frantic pace coupled with rush shots. GILAS seemingly found its mojo after intermission when the cadets leaned on the aforementioned 13-0 run and went ahead by 15 after the first 30 minutes of play, 51-36. Early in the fourth quarter, Carl Tamayo canned 2 consecutive triples before going down with a grade 1 ankle sprain after accidentally stepping on Indonesia's Arki Wisnu's foot. Justin Baltazar, however, had a good game for GILAS Pilipinas, and Lopez and Kai Soto then took over the scoring reins, showing off their seemingly endless energy with a couple of inside buckets to help give the Philippines a much bigger lead. Abarientos gave GILAS its biggest advantage at 25 points, courtesy of a slashing layup. Baltazar led GILAS in a scoring with 11 points and 9 rebounds, while Dwight Ramos followed up with a 10-marker, 12 boards, and double-double performance. Naturalized player Lester Prosper was the one double-digit scorer for Indonesia with 22 and hauled in 8 rebounds. Also, RJ Abarientos gave the Philippines its biggest lead at 25 points after converting a driving layup 74-49 late in the fourth quarter. Dwight Ramos led the effort with a 10-point, 12-rebound, double-double performance. And Indonesia, which fell to 1-4 in Group A, was led by their naturalized player Prosper, making 22 points. And GILAS wraps up its third window when it faces Korea again on Sunday at 3 p.m., looking to maintain their perfect win-loss record. The Philippines hasn't beat South Korea in the past 8 years. They beat South Korea last 2013 when they qualified for the World Cup. So their win last Wednesday was a phenomenal for the country with a young roster of GILAS. No professional player were included in that roster. They were able to beat the South Korea with a naturalized player, former PBA import Theo Ratliff. Now, come Sunday, South Korea is going to get back even with the GILAS Pilipinas, and also the Philippines will be ready for them. Back to you, Ken.
Oh, appreciate the update, Ben, and best of luck to our GILAS Pilipinas. We're rooting for you over here in the U.S. and Canada. And there's a very concerning problem with NBA stars getting injured during the playoffs. EJ has a scoop.
Yeah, thanks, Ken. Definitely. This year, a new NBA playoff record has been set when it comes to injuries. There have been 8 All-Star players who have missed at least one game during these NBA playoffs. For the teams that are still in it, there are some big names in jeopardy of missing more games. First, Kawhi Leonard ended up missing Game 5 in the Clippers and Jazz series. Kawhi suffered an ACL injury on his right knee. However, the Clippers still came out with a victory. Now, entering Game 6, Kawhi is once again ruled out, and it is highly possible that he may be out for the remainder of the playoffs. And for the Jazz, entering Game 6, Donovan Mitchell's right ankle injury has continued to bother him and is listed as a game-time decision. Mike Conley has missed the entire series thus far with a right hamstring strain. With this game being an elimination game, however, both players being on the floor is highly possible and expected. And for the Phoenix Suns, the latest headline surrounds Chris Paul, as he has been put on the health and safety protocols list and is indefinitely sidelined. It was announced that he tested positive for COVID-19 on Wednesday, and if the Jazz-Clippers series goes to a Game 7, the Western Conference wouldn't begin until June 22nd, which means the Suns are hopeful that Chris Paul would not miss any significant time, barring, of course, what happens in his reevaluation tomorrow. And so far, there has been no update on Kyrie Irving, who suffered a right ankle sprain in Game 4. With the Nets and Bucks splitting the last two games, Game 7 will be in Brooklyn tomorrow, with Kyrie's status still up in the air. Back to you, Ken.
Thanks, EJ. We're going to talk about a little bit more later, so be prepared. And lastly, Jolty has some updates on a scary incident that happened during the Euro 2020. Jolty?
Thanks, Ken. Yeah, and before I start, I should say that it was a pretty emotional story to write. So if you're faint of heart, the images that are going to be on the screen might be disturbing. I watched the event live, and it was just as emotional writing the story as it was watching it on TV. So just be prepared for what you're about to see. So scary scenes in the Euro 2020 tournament last weekend when Danish forward Christian Eriksen collapsed on the field in the first half and appeared to be having a seizure. Minutes later, emergency crews were performing life-saving CPR on Eriksen, while the rest of Team Denmark formed a circle around him to block out any cameras. Many of his teammates couldn't hold back their tears as they watched on, and eventually Eriksen was carted off the field on a stretcher. The game against Finland was put on pause while Eriksen was transported to the hospital. Hours later, Eriksen was reported to be awake and in stable condition as he video called the team and asked them to carry on with the match, which they would eventually lose 1-0 to Finland. Now, the Denmark team doctor has come out and stated that Eriksen suffered from cardiac arrest and was, quote, gone for a few minutes while on the field. He stated that they used a defibrillator once they had a pulse and that the actions of everyone on the field that day saved Christian Eriksen's life. Since the incident, which occurred last Saturday, Eriksen has had successful heart surgery to implant an ICD, or an implantable cardioverter defibrillator. Now, I had no clue what that was, so I had to look it up. An ICD monitors a person's heartbeat and can send electrical pulses to restore a normal rhythm if necessary. In 2016, English soccer player Fabrice Muamba collapsed and was resuscitated during a live TV match after his heart stopped for 78 minutes, which ultimately forced him to end his career. No word yet if Christian Eriksen will have to retire, but the outlook is not good for the career of one of the best Danish soccer players in the world. And then just a quick story that kind of relates to this. In Belgium's match against Denmark, which was yesterday or the day before, Belgium kicked the ball out of play in the 10th minute and held up play for a minute as the crowd cheered and applauded for Eriksen, as the number he wore was number 10. Back to you, Ken.
Thanks, Jolty. Wishing Christian a very fast and healthy recovery. And that's all for sports updates that made the headlines this week. We'll be right back after a short break. Don't go anywhere.
Events happen around us all the time, in our community, in our country, around the world. Events that affect people, move communities, or simply inspire us. Interesting events that people need to know. In these interesting times, we continue to be a competent partner in delivering news about these events. Fast, accurate, balanced. Eagle News because we live in interesting times.
Kickoff.
This much is certain. Something is coming. The fact check for the kickoff of the Bundesliga. Who are the favorites? Who should be nervous? And where might surprises be lurking? We dare to look ahead to the new season.
Kickoff.
Mga Pinoy artists na hinahangaan natin ng tinig.
Kita malimutang tuluyan.
Ako sa'yo, ipaglalaban ko. Follow your dream, the courage found within. Ang dami-daming bagay na hindi naman kailangan. Now that you're gone, kung pwede lang naman,
Kat nariyan ka.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to EBC Sports International. This week has been an explosion of NBA news, and we're here to talk about them all. Let's start off with the conference semifinals. Suns swept the Nuggets ages ago, so we'll just skip over that for now. Congrats, Phoenix, for making it to the Western Conference Finals. The other two Western Conference teams are still fighting to punch their ticket to face the Suns next round. As of this filming, the Clippers are up 3-2 versus the Jazz with a win tonight. Could be entering their first ever conference finals. It's crazy. EJ, we saw quite a few legacy games this week from the NBA stars. Paul George had his in Game 5, putting up a monster, 37 points and 16 rebounds to carry his team without Kawhi Leonard, as you mentioned earlier. Is this the playoff P we've been waiting for?
Well, yeah, this is what everybody thinks of when they think playoff P, right? I mean, this guy is an incredible regular season performer, and he's been heavily criticized because he hasn't been able to bring that type of game into the postseason. Well, the stage was set for him. Kawhi Leonard unexpectedly not being able to suit up for this game, and a critical Game 5. Statistics say the winner during a 2-2 tied series, the winner of Game 5 wins the series 80% of the time. Now, this is an important stat because obviously you want that momentum to carry you on. And if they win tonight, obviously that percentage just continues to go higher, whoever wins that Game 5. And Paul George showed up when the Clippers needed him the most. He put up a stellar performance, 37 points. As you mentioned, the guy stepped up, and he has been stepping up. Over the last 3 games, he's scored over 30 points in each of those games. They're going to need him heavily if Kawhi Leonard really is not able to come back due to this ACL injury. But yeah, this is the playoff P, not pandemic P, playoff P.
This is
everyone.
This is Pfizer P.
If he got vaccinated.
I mean, Ben, the Jazz, they're just the best team in the regular season. Seem to be unstoppable from 3-point land. They've struggled this series with Donovan Mitchell limping around from a sprained ankle, and Michael Conley, as EJ mentioned earlier, he's been sidelined the entire time. We'll talk more about that later, as mentioned. Do you think Utah has what it takes to win 2 in a row to get past the Clippers? They just started playing right now.
I think it's going to be a difficult task for them. First of all, the reason they lost Game 5 is because they did not have the source of urgency during that game. They led by 5 points in the first half in Game 5, but apparently they fell short and really fell down. Now, the Jazz are going to need to have strong outing from Joe Ingles, Jordan Clarkson, and Bojan Bogdanovic in order to win Game 6. but they're going to need even more than that. Also, Derek Favors and Georges Niang have struggled to provide much, if anything, on their side of the ball through the last 3 games. The Clippers know they have an advantage when Favors and Young are on the floor. They have taken advantage of those minutes, increasing leads and punishing Jazz for their lack of defense. If the Jazz are going to win this game, the bench has to step up. And also, they don't have a superstar on the team. Mitchell is questionable to come back, but if he does, then it's going to be a big help for the Jazz. But I think we don't want to rely on that. Throughout the series, the Jazz have had issues with their effort and rising to the level of aggressiveness and desperation that the Clippers have played with. I think the reason they were successful in the previous games is that their aggressiveness and their energy is really that high. That's why they were able to get those wins. And in order for them to win 2 consecutive games, game 6 and 7, even go to the championship, they really have to work on their game today. That's the very first thing to do, is to win the game 6 and then come back on game 7 with the high energy that they need, and also the bench stepping up in their game.
I mean, last thing on this, looks like Michael Conley's on the court, which makes it a big difference. I think that's one of the reasons why they struggled is Donovan Mitchell's hurt, and he has to be the ball handler and the scorer, and no one else stepped up. So let's transition to the Eastern Conference semifinals, where things are even spicier. So we got a Game 7 alert, everyone. Bucks versus Nets tomorrow in Brooklyn. Most likely no Kyrie. Actually, confirmed no Kyrie. But KD had his own legacy game in Game 5. Insane triple-double. 49 points, 17 boards, 10 assists to will his team to victory with a hobbled James Harden. The Bucks responded in kind by winning last night's game in Milwaukee. Chris Middleton had his own legacy game too, where he put up 38 points, 10 rebounds. Jolty, thoughts on how the series has gone so far, and who do you think needs to win Game 7 more between these two teams?
That is a loaded question, because I mean, you can make arguments for both of these teams. First off, Giannis attempted. Sorry, what's his name? Giannis Antetokounmpo. Giannis attempted free throw. This is 21 of 46 in the series. That's 45% on free throws, and he's like a career 79% free throw shooter. The Bucks. Not even speaking about Giannis, but just the Bucks. I mean, they came 3rd in the East this year, but last year they were 1st. They were gonna win the title, right? Like it was gonna be the Bucks against the Lakers, LeBron versus Giannis in the finals, and then they lose to the Heat in the Eastern semis, I believe, right? 2 years ago, they were gonna win the title. They were supposed to win the title. Toronto comes along and knocks them off in the Eastern finals, right? I mean, eventually they're gonna catch a break. Things are going to start going their way. It doesn't seem like it's going their way this year with Giannis's free throw shooting. But eventually they're going to catch a break. They're going to, some could say that Kyrie being injured, Harden hobbling was a break before Game 6. But then, Durant plays all 48 minutes, throws up that stat line like you mentioned, Ken. Both of these teams almost need to win. The Nets, because they have the new big 3 in Kyrie, Harden, and Durant. So it's almost like they're expected to win. Anything less than a championship is a loss, right? But for me, it's the Bucks. I mean, just back-to-back disappointing playoff outings. They need to step up in Game 7 and take the win, and not only win this series, but the next series and the one after that.
Yep. Ben, I was going to ask you about the Bucks, but Jolty went ahead and talked about how important it is for them to win this next game. Mm-hmm. But your thoughts on the Nets, knowing that Kyrie's out and James Harden is hobbled and probably like at maybe max 60-70%. Do they have what it takes to take this series, being as shorthanded as they are?
I think they do. They have 2 superstars on the team. I guess if the Bucks play the same like the way they played in Game 6, where Giannis is protecting the inside the paint, and the Nets have no one to defend him when he plays like that. But if he if the Nets makes an adjustment and make Giannis play outside the paint, I think they have a strong chance of winning Game 7. But I think this is going to be a tough one for both teams, and the Bucks would really fight for a win, and also the Nets would really want to get that win in order to move to the championship. So I think the best way for the Nets is to control Giannis and also make sure that everyone contributes on the team, because one superstar, two superstars cannot carry a team. I think it's going to be an all effort for all the players. And also, Joe Harris needs to step up. Remember, he's the number one in three-point.
Joe who?
So he's nowhere to be found. So I think he has to really step up. So help out the team.
Yeah, my if I was Steve Nash, I would force Giannis to shoot threes and to make free throws, and I think that would be the recipe for success for the Nets. Last of the conference semifinals matchups belongs to 76ers Hawks. They just finished their Game 6. 76ers were able to pull out that win, unlike the last couple games. But the Hawks are performing way above expectation. They pulled off that one of the greatest comebacks last game in playoff history. Game 5, outscoring the 76ers 40-19 in the fourth quarter. They're playing right now. They finished playing. But I wanted to get your thoughts on what's wrong with Philadelphia, EJ. I mean, why does Ben Simmons play like Charles Barkley in Space Jam 1 after his powers were taken away?
Man. I mean, first of all, the Sixers had no reason to lose that game. They were up by 20 through 3 quarters. Going into the fourth quarter, it seems like momentum was starting to shift towards Atlanta, and you got to give props to Atlanta for just being scrappy. Being that hungry team. I mean, they look like they want to win it, like they are fighting every single point. Jolty brought up the point earlier, 20-point deficits that Atlanta had to come back for.
25.
Right. And it's crazy. It's crazy why Philly is losing like this. And it's not just Ben Simmons, because Ben Simmons does a lot of things that are not recorded on the stat sheet, right? He's their best defender. He's the runner-up defender of the year. But Joel Embiid as well, during those games that they lost, I believe the first game that they lost when they were up 20, he went 0 for 12 in the second half. And missed a layup, a potential game-winning layup that would have put them up with a couple seconds back in, I believe it was Game 5, or Game 4. And it's crazy how they get so hot in the first half and they can't close out. So I think that's what's wrong with the Philadelphia 76ers. To answer your question, Ken, they are playing hot in the first half, but they are letting go of the reins in the second half. And Atlanta is owning the third and fourth quarter. They need to do some sort. I mean, these guys are great defenders. Two of their players are in the all defensive team. And Joel Embiid also has a case, or 3. Sorry, so 3 of them are all defensive teams. There's no reason why you're allowing that many points by Atlanta in the third and fourth quarter.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the biggest problems with Embiid. He's notorious for being a strong first half player and gassing out. We thought this was going to be a change this year, since supposedly he came in, and he did. He came in extremely in shape, and then he got hurt after putting up all those monster numbers. And I don't think he's at 100%. Obviously, he got hurt again at the beginning of the series, and a lot of his old habits are starting to show, and it's very concerning. But they won this game, and they have
Game 7.
They got to go home in Game 7, so they have a high chance. Now let's transition quickly into a very concerning situation, as we mentioned earlier. The NBA is currently in. Their stars are getting hurt during the most critical part of the season, the playoffs. Not even that, but even throughout this entire season, stars like Jamal Murray, Jaylen Brown, Anthony Davis, LeBron James, James Harden missed significant time during the regular season. This postseason, 8 All-Stars have missed at least one playoff game. EJ, let's go back to you.
Yeah.
You reported on this earlier, but I want to get your thoughts on it. Is it a coincidence or something more?
No, I mean, LeBron thinks it's not a coincidence. After he made that tweet, he was saying, this is what I tried to warn everybody, that this short offseason is going to cause a lot of injuries, and we just want to protect the players. I think it's more of a coincidence. I mean, a lot of these injuries are accidents, freak accidents, like Kyrie Irving's injury, for example. I mean, that happens within the game. Sometimes you land on somebody's foot wrong and you injure the ankle and you're out for a couple games. And then there was also COVID added into the mix. That was allowing a lot of players during the regular season to miss games, right? These guys, during the offseason, they work out. They still play games, maybe not NBA intense games, but they are still actively working on their bodies. They're putting pressure on their muscles. And, you know, like, I think sometimes injuries are just inevitable. That's why I think this is not really to blame for the short off season. Because if they were to get hurt, you know, it would have happened along the road anyway. You know, a lot of the ends up being freak accidents, in my opinion.
Yeah, Ben, your thoughts on this?
I think EJ is right, but also let's go back to what LeBron is saying. He foreseen this was going to happen, but I don't think it's a coincidence for everyone. We have to understand that the league and its players union agreed on the schedule, so it's the risk that the players have to take, you know, as professional players. And as EJ said, these are freak accident that happened to them, but they know these are the risks of being a professional player, and they have to give it all in every game. And they get lots of money to play for the fans, for the team. I think this is not a coincidence, and it's just natural for players to get injured. And of course, it's really difficult for the teams who have all-star players now, 8 all-star players that have been injured and they have suffered because of these injuries. That's the name of the game. That's how basketball is played. I think they really have to strengthen their body and be careful when playing. I think this cannot be avoided. And, you know, the greatest players get injured. Kobe, Jordan, and all other players, legends, have been injured playing basketball. Right. I think it comes down to them taking care of their body.
Yeah. Thanks, Ben. Jolty, I'll get you right after the break, same topic. However, we have to take a commercial break, guys. More NBA after EBC Sports International. We'll be right back.
Factual.
We have to defeat the virus everywhere.
Timely information. Balanced. Not only in the country, but also abroad.
I'm certain of one thing.
Interviews that people need to know. Watch Agila Pilipinas. A 1-hour newscast of reports coming from regional hubs in Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. Know the important updates in Asia in ASEAN in Focus. Track the latest stories in the provinces in Aguila Provincia. Tune into Mata ng Agila, the evening primetime news program of Net25. Balanced and objective, Mata ng Agila covers national and international issues, tackles news on business, health, science, and technology, entertainment, sports and human interest features, and current events. And Eagle News International delivers the latest global reports, impartial, accessible, and up-to-date. It brings to fore EBC's rich international scope and access to valuable information streams.
Well, thank you to Thanks our Health Outdoor.
Catch these programs on Net25. You can also watch our news programs through eaglenews.ph
and Eagle News Facebook page and YouTube channel.
Welcome back, sports fans. Ken Cruz here for Eagle News. And before the break, we were talking about injuries, and we wanted to get Jolty's take on that. Jolty?
Yeah, so I mean, I just wanted to say, like, I played, you know, I don't want to say high-level college football, but mid-level college football. And I can honestly say that I agree with LeBron about the short offseason. Just because, you know, there were a lot more injuries, not only on our team, but just like in our division, in our league, when we would have to play a Saturday game and then a quick turnaround for a Thursday game. You know, I know it's a little different with being in the same week rather than an off season. But if you don't give your body, if you play like a full 80 whatever games plus the playoffs, and you don't give your body enough time to recover, you're gonna get injured. Like, there are gonna be way more injuries than not. And I know, EJ, you said, you know, like, they play in the off season, they work out in the off season. Game intensity is not like practice, not like working out. You know, I mean, I could work out when I was in college. I could work out every day and not be sore. I go play a game and I'm hurt for like 5 days. You know, I can't even move for like at least 3 of them. So just a quick turnaround of the season, not letting their bodies recover, not letting their bodies rest, and especially with COVID restrictions, so they can't go see, you know, their whatever they used to do in the previous off seasons. They can't see their trainers. They can't go to like their massage therapist. They can't do all these things to help their bodies recover. I definitely feel like it plays a factor in all of these all-star injuries.
Yeah, great take, Jolty. I mean, and especially from someone who's played the game, you know, firsthand. And I think LeBron termed it as rim rest. I think that was the first time I've seen that, and I think that's a great term, rim rest. We'll talk more about rim rest later on when we talk Olympics next block. Now, back to our schedule. While the players have been insane, playoffs have been insane, the offseason for teams out of the playoffs has been equally crazy. The NBA landscape next season will be completely different, as 7 teams, as of right now, are in search of a new head coach. Just this week, the Pelicans, Wizards, Mavericks vacated their coaching positions, with the Blazers, Celtics, Pacers, and Magic already having coaching vacancies. Ben, which of these teams is the most attractive for a would-be coach?
I would say the Mavericks. You know, I think with the talented players, who would want to coach them? I think if you have a great player, a superstar players that could win you games, I think that's one of the things that coaches could look into in accepting a coaching job. But it really depends on the management as well. I think there's a reason why Rick Carlisle was resigned from coaching the Mavericks, because there's someone from Mark Cuban's management team had, I think he has to, he was fed up, Rick Carlisle was fed up by that person. So after the general manager was removed, he followed. And I think there's more story than that. I think Rick Carlisle will have more teams that he can choose. He have the Boston Celtics, probably other teams as well. But I think in all these teams, Mavericks would be the best team to coach.
Yeah, that's I mean, they got Luka Doncic,
right,
who's already like one of the perennial all-star superstars in the league. Jolty, do you have a coach in mind for any of these teams that would make the perfect fit?
I'm not gonna lie. When I first saw this question on the script, I was like, wait, I don't know any coaches. You know, like I don't know who would fit where. And you know, I was doing some research and I saw this name linked with this team, and I immediately thought that would be a perfect fit. Like, I don't know how I didn't think of this. Sam Cassell with the Orlando Magic. And hear me out. He spent 11 years as an assistant coach, mostly coaching guards, right? He helped with the early development of John Wall and Bradley Beal when he was with the Wizards. And then with the Clippers and Sixers, he was kind of like a mentor to Chris Paul, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and Ben Simmons. I know Ben Simmons is playing like trash lately, but he's overall a great player. Like defensive, he didn't win Defensive Player of the Year, did he? Or he was like up there, second in voting or something, right?
Yeah, he was like a glove light.
Yeah. So when you got guards on the Magic like Markelle Fultz, who has, I mean, let's be honest, he struggled in his career to live up to what he was supposed to be coming out of college. And then you got RJ Hampton there as well. Like, you make this guy a head coach, he's gonna bring these guys up hopefully to an elite level, like he did with John Wall and Bradley Beal. And I mean, maybe just maybe the Magic will be decent again. I mean, you never know.
I mean, I think that's a great suggestion. I mean, maybe you should give the Magic a call and give it and pitch them to
sell it to them.
EJ, your boy Scott Brooks, unemployed.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on this?
Well, first of all, I think a lot of Wizards fans would gladly say they've been waiting for that announcement. You know, going into the offseason, they were like, yeah, we think Brooks, they were saying Brooks was going to get an extension for more years. And a lot of people were questioning it. I for one, only like the pairing of him and Russell Westbrook. But as far as the decision-making that he was making, especially like the substitutions at certain points of the game, and being a Wizards fan, I watched the entire game, it just didn't make sense. It didn't go with the flow of the game. I mean, look at Steve Nash and Kevin Durant. He let the guy play 48 minutes to lead them to a victory. Bradley Beal, during the playoffs, or even during the end of the regular season when they were fighting for that playoff race, Bradley Beal, although injured, he wanted to be out there. Let the guy out. Let the guy be out there. I mean, I understand you want to take care of him. You know, he's fighting an injury and you don't want it to get any worse. But they were playing for a playoff spot. Some would argue they weren't going to make it deep into the playoffs anyway, so why bother? But us here in Washington, we love to see success, and even making the playoffs is some sort of success and shows us that there's a step towards the right path. This Brooks firing or not being able to come to terms, I think is a good thing. It's going to give a fresh start with the Washington Wizards, and I think that's what they need, especially Bradley Beal.
Who do you want? Who's number one on your wish list, EJ?
It's tough, but nobody yet has committed to Mike D'Antoni. Hear me out. Mike D'Antoni was running with James Harden and Russell Westbrook, right? But who is the primary ball handler? James Harden. I think Russell Westbrook, being the type of guy Russell Westbrook is, who loves to have the ball and have control of the game, to play under a system, Mike D'Antoni's system again, which he favored, I think, while he was in Houston. I think now that he would be running the show, I think it would be a good pairing. Another good pairing would also be probably Wes Unseld Jr., being that his father was one of the Washington Wizards' greatest players to ever play for the franchise. Nice. And he spent some time with them in the coaching staff here in Washington. I think it would be a great opportunity for him to get a head coaching job here in Washington, especially after to kind of follow the path of his father here in Washington.
D'Antoni and Bradley Beal, I think, would be a perfect pairing. Just putting that out there. Now, next, in the midst of all this madness, the NBA announced several of their annual awards. I mean, it's crazy how this kind of like, there's so much going on that This is like an afterthought. But this is big news, right? I mean, every single year, the importance of all NBA teams are not just because of like, they get these nice trophies and awards. It's because these affect their bonuses. So they get big bonuses, and their future contracts are affected if they win first, second, third, all team, all that good stuff. So let's get our thoughts on some of these awards. So we'll start off with the All NBA teams. First team, All NBA: Steph Curry, Luka Doncic, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Kawhi Leonard, Nikola Jokic. Second team, Damian Lillard, Chris Paul, Julius Randle, well deserved, LeBron James, Joel Embiid. Third team, Bradley Beal, Kyrie Irving, Jimmy Butler, Paul George, Rudy Gobert. EJ, did the NBA get this right or wrong? Who was snubbed?
Man, it's crazy because I don't think they got it wrong, but there are players who are snubbed. But I don't know who you can really replace them with. Some of the guys, just based off of you can see it right now. They're playing in the playoffs at a high level. Is Trae Young, Donovan Mitchell, and you can even throw Jason Tatum in that mix. They're not all NBA. They're definitely some of the top players in the NBA. Oh, sorry, Devin Booker. He was also snubbed. But who do you replace? These guys are great players and they deserve to be on All NBA. It's just hard to know who to replace, especially with all the injuries that were going on. That's why I think Kevin Durant and James Harden were kind of not on this list. Definitely one of the some of the top 15 players in the league. But again, they're doing this by position, right? And it's so guard heavy that you can't really put all the guards in there because they're all great. But these guys definitely got snubbed. The ones I listed definitely got snubbed. It's just hard to pick who would you replace them with.
Jolty, quick thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, EJ basically took my take. The only one thing that I would say is, you guys know I'm the biggest LeBron lover on this show. I wouldn't have put LeBron on any of these teams. That guy missed way too much of the season to be second team.
It's fair,
let alone be put on the third team. I mean, the guy only played 45 games this year. Like, he missed almost half the season. That's
45 out of 72, right? I mean,
okay, yeah. So he missed 28, 27. What was it?
I mean, he was playing MVP level before. Yeah, he was playing MVP level before he got hurt. But that is quite a substantial amount of games missed. I agree. Now let's go to all NBA defensive teams. Ben, I'm going to go to you on this. So first team, Ben Simmons, Drew Holiday, Draymond Green, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Rudy Gobert. Second team, Jimmy Butler, Matisse Thybulle, Bam Adebayo, Kawhi Leonard, Joel Embiid. As EJ mentioned earlier, 3 of these are Philly 76ers. Does this look right, Ben? This list?
For me, I think they got it right for the first team. Of course, Rudy Gobert winning the award. But the only thing that I'm questioning would be Drew Holiday. Probably we could have Kawhi on that list on the first team rather than in the second team. And but most of the players that were in the first team, they got it right. And Rudy Gobert winning it again, and he deserved it.
Yeah. What's that guard's name from Memphis? EJ, do you remember? Dylan Brooks. That guy, I think, should have been on this list, but I don't know who to take out. I mean, that guy is a dog on D. I mean, I think probably the only thing that holds him back is the fact that he usually fouls out because of how scrappy he is. But I mean, you can tell people hate it when they're being guarded by him. But I think I agree. This list is pretty good. And Kawhi, I think the hard thing with Kawhi is that he doesn't show up until team really needs him, and that's usually in the playoffs, right? And you can tell he's first team all defensive in the playoffs. It's just in the regular season, he coasts a lot, even though he played more games this year than regular. Now, finally, real quick, Rookie of the Year, LaMelo Ball, Jolty. Anthony Edwards didn't agree with this pick. Who of the two was more deserving?
I mean, this is exactly what we were worried about last year with when Ja Morant won, and we were all worried that, Ja Morant had a way better season. Zion was injured the whole season, but because Zion was the bigger name, he was going to win. And, it ended up that Ja Morant won Rookie of the Year. Well, you know what? That didn't happen this year. Anthony Edwards had a way better season, started 55 games had a better points average, 1 less rebound, and like 2 less assists or something like that per game. But LaMelo Ball only started 31 games and then missed the other half of the season with injuries. Like, how do you put this guy as rookie of the year over Anthony Edwards, who balled out the whole season? It's like I said, it's the same thing we worried about last season happening this season. The bigger name, the bigger hype, won rookie of the year.
And he had arguably the dunk of the year over what's his name from
Watanabe. Yeah.
Yikes, guys. Now, awesome talk, guys. Love this time of the year for sports. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Hey there, Arnie Aquino here at Hatley Castle, one of the filming locations for the X-Men series. Don't forget to tune in to Digital Nest only on Net25.
Innovation, digital disruption, globalization. Startups, micro, small, and medium enterprises, as well as large corporations, all face interesting challenges in the market today. Peek into the world of exciting opportunities and partnerships to drive growth with the latest business news and information. We are open for business.
Your weekly dose of entrepreneurial inspiration
to update you on the latest developments in the world of business. Get up close and personal with CEOs and thought leaders to help you discover valuable insights, sharpen your instincts for smart decision making with the latest markets and economic trends, disruptive ideas, global innovation,
social entrepreneurship,
and other leading-edge business ideas. Join the conversations to create a more vibrant environment for entrepreneurship. Catch Open for Business, from vision to action.
Can you feel it? Do you like it? Do you want it?
So good. I love it.
Okay, then buckle up, put the pedal to the metal, and let's ride. Rev.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to EBC Sports International. As everyone knows, the 2020 Olympics was postponed and is set to take place this summer in Tokyo, in between this NBA season and the next. There's a lot of risk playing for the Olympics this year. Main one is not getting enough rest before starting the 2021-2022 NBA season. However, like many NBA players in the past have said, the feeling of playing for Team USA and winning the gold is unique and quote-unquote once in a lifetime experience. Some stars that have already committed to playing for the Team USA are Damian Lillard, Draymond Green, Jason Tatum, Bradley Beal, what's up, EJ, and Devin Booker. Some stars that have already declined invitations are LeBron James, Anthony Davis, that's that Space Jam 2 stuff, and Jimmy Butler. EJ, thoughts on this? Is it worth the risk?
Well, based off of, let's say, the quote that you said, right? A once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. LeBron James, Anthony Davis, they were part of the new millennium dream team, right? Like, they had their chance. They played with Kobe and KD. They got their gold medals. So, there's really nothing else for them to prove. They have that on their resume. Why not give some other guys that opportunity? I don't think you need to put your best stars every single year and risk injury. Again, a lot of players have been hurt this year, and another short season, if they play in the Olympics, could definitely cause some more injuries next season. But I love who they have so far. It just proves that this is the best league in the world. Like, you can pick not even the top players and still have a very solid team. My guy Bradley Beal's going to be on there, and his homie Jason Tatum. And I say that homie because they literally grew up together in St. Louis. They've always wanted to play together. This all-star game this season was the first time they ever played on the same team together. They said, and they loved it. And for them to go for a gold medal in Tokyo, along with Devin Booker and Draymond Green and Damian Lillard, oh man, it's gonna be fun to watch them. They're guard heavy. They definitely need to have some centers in there, but I'm excited for the Olympics. And I want to watch Bradley Beal succeed. I hope that he doesn't have any injuries, especially in the upcoming season, because I still want him to do well with the Wizards. But it's still exciting time, and I think it's cool that LeBron and AD are passing the torch to these younger stars now.
Right. I mean, Zion, I'm hoping he commits too. That would be a great name.
That'd be awesome.
Ben, so I know you're pushing for Team Philippines, and I believe Jordan Clarkson should be playing. But what are your thoughts on this? Both Team USA, Team Philippines, just NBA players committing to these teams.
I think this is also a problem that the Philippines is also facing. With the PBA players, the professional players, not playing in this FIBA qualifiers. It's also a big challenge for the coaches. But there are younger players who are stepping up. I think it's also a great way to show what they're capable of. And they're also, the younger players have this urgency, they have this hunger to win for the country. And let's go back to our USA team. In the 29 FIBA World Cup, it's one of the, the poorest performance by the US team. And before that, the Americans had won 58 consecutive games in the international competition, dating back to the 2006 World Cup. But in 2019, they fell short and finished 7th in the placing with players like Kemba Walker, Chris Middleton, Brook Lopez, Donovan Mitchell, Jason Tatum, and Jaylen Brown. With players committing to play like Damian Lillard, Draymond Green, Jason Tatum again, Bradley Beal, and Devin Booker. I'm really surprised that he opted to participate because he has never participated in the Olympics before. So I think this is a great chance for him to show his dedication for the country. And for other players that would really want to play, and for the superstars, I cannot blame them for not playing because, as they grow old and they have to protect their themselves and not to be injured and still have playing years on their contract. I think with other players on the list, I think they have 57 players finalists for Team USA, and I think there are players that would really want to play there. And I'm also hoping that LaMelo Ball could also play if he given it a chance. I wanted to see him play for the Black.
I mean, my wish list, number one is has to be Steph Curry. I mean, and real quick before we go to the question of the week, I think one of the big things that a lot of people don't realize is that the Olympics is a great time for you as a player to showcase yourself, not just for your skills, but for your sponsorships and for all the extra money that you can get on the side afterwards because of the global exposure, right? Now, let's go to the last part of our show, question of the week. With all the injury talk that we had this episode, I thought it'd be fitting to ask a question related to that. Who is your greatest what-if player whose career was shortened because of injury? Ben?
Me, Grant Hill. Everyone thought that he was the second coming of Michael Jordan.
Yes, sir.
After graduating from Duke in 1994, Hill was selected by the Detroit Pistons with the 3rd overall pick in the NBA draft. Also co-winner for the NBA Rookie of the Year. Early in his NBA career, Grant Hill was widely considered to be one of the best all-around players in the game, often leading his team in points, rebounds, assists. And in his first 6 seasons in the NBA, he averaged 21.6 points, 7.9 rebounds, and 6.3 assists per game, and made the Eastern Conference All-Star team 5 times. However, because of this his injury, it has altered his career. And but of course, his comeback after that injury still
with the Suns. Yep.
It still proved that he is one of the great players of all time for me.
Great player. Wish he had a longer career. EJ, yours?
Yeah, real quick, I'm gonna go with Derrick Rose. The guy had an MVP season and so explosive. Just what if he never had gone through that? That guy could take over games. Like, it was incredible.
Yeah, mine is Len Bias, Maryland University graduate. He unfortunately passed away right after he was drafted by the Celtics, but he was supposedly on par with Michael Jordan. So that's big what if. Now, that's all the time we have for this week's edition of EBC Sports International. On behalf of everyone on our panel, thank you so much for joining us, and be sure to tune in again next week. Make sure to visit our website at eaglenews.net and eaglenewslive.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at EagleNewsPH to join the conversation. For Eagle News, I'm Ken Cruz. We live in interesting times.